think the environment has to be
What we are saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bitter about things. I'm fine with that.
What's wrong with Singaporeans?
Let's look at some statistics first. National Health Survey indicates that obesity was 6.9% in 2004 and it is now 10.8%. It was 10.8% last year. Now, it is double what it was in 1992. Obesity is actually a global epidemic and there are now more than 300 million obese individuals. In Singapore, 4 in 10 adults aged between 18 and 69 were overweight in 2010. Of these, 1 in 10 were obese. By gender, 12.1% of males are obese, compared with 9.5% females. By ethnic group, 24% Malays, 16.9% Indians, and 7.9% Chinese. So let's get into it. Perhaps we should start with you, Professor, on obesity. Why is it such a problem in Singapore?
I guess the numbers itself are alarming, but they also are not really truly reflective of what obesity is in Singapore. I think it's also interesting to note that among Asians, there's proposed to be a lower cutoff for BMI for the same risk of health conditions as compared to a Caucasian. So for Caucasians, we use a cutoff of 30. So those are the numbers that are around 11% obesity. But if we see the Asian cutoff, which is 27.5, the numbers are even more alarming. And that's around 18% as per the 2012 survey. But nevertheless, I mean, both the numbers are definitely alarming there. But they're less in what you find in the US and Europe and some other countries. So that provides us a window of opportunity to act on this particular epidemic before it really gets out of hand.
But you say the cutoff point for Asians is lower. Why is that so?
At the same level of BMI, the proportion or the amount of fat that an Asian person has in the body is higher compared to a Caucasian person. So it's the amount of fat that you have in the body that's more dangerous rather than the absolute BMI. So an Asian man who's skinny is more likely at risk compared to a Caucasian who looks equally skinny.
Okay.
And the second point to that addendum is that there's a paradox. Many Asians look skinny from the outside, but actually they have what's called internal or visceral fat inside. And that's the bad fat, as was put.
And where's that hidden?
Inside your tummy and your omentum, which is kind of the fat around your organs, which we call visceral fat. So when you look at somebody visually, he may look skinny, but many people from the Asian subcontinent in particular have what we call internal fat and not subcutaneous, which is the fat that you find in most Caucasians.
You know, a lot of effort has been put into this ever since Prime Minister Goh launched the campaign. We've had the Great Singapore Workout, we have the Campaign with Hawkers, which is the Ask for More Healthy Food. We have the Active Day campaign. Every year and over the past two decades, we have had actually very significant campaigns. Why has it not been effective and why has obesity been on the rise?
I would say one of the causes could be the increasing in a sedentary lifestyle. Yeah. So the thing is that it's not what you actually just put into your body, and then it's also what you you actually exercise out from your body. So you've got a lot more sedentary kinds of jobs, and so a lot more people sitting down most of the time. Previously, if you had our forefathers, could eat a huge amount, but because they actually burned a lot of it, you have a lot of labor-saving devices. So that's on the exercise part of things.
I think it's very simple. It's how people are housed. It's the environment. If you look at 90% of Singaporeans, they all live in apartments, especially housing board apartments, right? And it's the entire move of people from villages. Like we all grew up in what we call kampongs, and we're always running around the whole day. Even if you live in a house, you're out there chasing a chicken, chasing a bird, flying a kite, jumping into a drain. But now, because of the move into HDB estates, right? Everything is so prim and proper. So kids don't go out and run around anymore.
But just to add to that important element, I totally agree with what Ivy says. we are actually not looking at the environment in which we live. If you look at a weight loss or a obesity campaign, it's parochially focused on food and diet. But there are two important components.
Eating, right?
On eating, absolutely. The second important component is physical activity. It has been pointed out. And the third important point is what I call cognitive health. When you say to somebody, stop eating this food, it's not about restricting food, it's about the psychosomatics of not eating. How do we get people to understand the cognitive function of eating, what we call mindfulness? So therefore, clearly we have a triangulation that we need to teach every single child in this country, saying food is important, exercise is important, and above all, cognitive competence is important.
Okay, let's take one aspect of your triangulation first, the question of exercise. Although Ivy says that now we don't have the kampongs to run about, I think Singapore as a city has developed a lot of alternatives for exercise. We have our bicycle channels, we have the green channels, the blue channels, we have parks, we have exercise parks.
But you have to overcompensate doubly, because running around in kampongs, I mean, I also used to live on a farm as well, so you would definitely exert more effort to run after the next kerbau, you know, because he's run over the paddock, to try and drag him back rather than doing something on a treadmill.
You know, you see, when I live on my farm, I'm walking the whole day, I'm standing the whole day, and my bum is never on a seat, hardly. Except in the evening when it's dark and there's a lot of mosquitoes around or whatever, you know, then I sit down and have my whiskey. But the rest of the time from 6:30 in the morning...
that defeats all the calories that you've lost.
But you see, but we warriors are hunters as well. We chase animals all the time, you know. So the point is, if you must do that, you know, that amount of exercise.
But we don't have that, so we have to.
So it's about physical activity. So I agree with what you said about the physical activity. So we don't just talk about exercise anymore, because for some people, exercise is a dirty word. Some people say, no, I would never do a treadmill or whatever, but about creating the opportunities for physical activity. So like say, you know, just moving about, simple things like taking the stairs. You know, I sometimes nag my patients, you know, why you just take the stairs instead of taking the lift, you know? Is it doing something different? Yeah. Walking, you know,
moving. Moving.
One point about the environment, I think in recent work that we did from the US, we didn't have any data from Singapore, unfortunately. It was not only the environment outside the house, but also the home environment that influences childhood kind of physical activity and nutritional intake among kids. And we found that if the parents were more supportive of physical activity of the child, if the parents took time out and encouraged the kid to eat healthy, and most importantly, if they served as good role models themselves. I mean, if you eat chips yourselves and you tell the child to eat an apple, that's not going to work.
Are you saying that the child cannot eat chips today? They cannot eat...
They can, but in moderation. But if that's the only thing that they see the parents eating, then that's not really a good thing. So I think it's the environment within the home that's as important as what it is outside, especially for kids.
Okay.
And especially for lower income families, and that's what we found in the US at least. It's the lower income families that were disproportionately affected by having a bad environment at home.
Well, absolutely. And I think just to add to an addendum, we did a similar study in the UK in Oxford, where we did a study within a school where we told the children about healthy eating, and paradoxically the children change the lifestyle of the parent. Exactly what you pointed out. So children are an enormous agent of change.
Is this a cognitive aspect that you were talking about?
Not so much that alone, but actually by experience of telling the children that there are options that you can have. Yes, you can have fish and chips on occasion, but not every day. Where the children of low-income families in particular, this is the UK context, being told that there are other options of food to eat, so that the children then inform the parents of the different choices. So there's an agent of change, and the parents change, there is a vicious sort of cycle of positivity. So I think that using children through the school milieu would be a very, very useful strategy to actually change both the child and the family. And I think the family unit is quite important.
Okay.
May I also suggest another thing from my observation? I'm nearly 65 years old.
You don't look it at all.
So thank you very much. But you know, in the old days when we work, all of us work. But after work, we will after work means 5 o'clock you stop work or 5:30. We will go and play netball, or we play tennis, or we do something.
You were the something in netball. What were you?
I was the president of netball Singapore. Right? And the idea was to get women to be active, then the family will be active. Exactly what you said. If the parents set this example. But what happens now is a lot of people work till they're very late. So they're very hungry, you know. And, you know, they work till they're very late. Then, like you say, they finish work at 8 o'clock. They go back and have this fabulous, humongous meal.
Yeah.
Then they go at home, watch television and sleep. And obviously you grow fat.
I have two daughters who are one's working, but one's also working part-time and I mean taking her studies part-time, and the other one's in university. They have no time because the pressure of education here is extremely high, and all they have is basically time to breathe in their next meal before they go into their next lecture, and before you know it, they're back home. It's dark already. I mean, my children leave home in darkness and they come home in darkness. There's no sunshine in their life.
You are the sunshine.
Yeah, well, I try to be. I do try to be.